Hello everybody, and today I'm just going to be giving you some tips on how to improve your survivability. So the first tip is going to be look at your secondary stats. So you can see here I have 16% damage reduction while fortified, 20% damage reduction from close enemies, 14% damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned, and 27% damage reduction from distant enemies. So the close and distant, we'll just bundle those up and just assume I have 20% all the time since those are conditional based on being close or far. So that means I'm getting 50% damage reduction just from my secondaries. So look at your gear and make sure you don't have really a whole lot of damage stuff on them. Now, if you don't have any other secondaries that benefit your build, right, that are defensive, like, because I know like necromancers, I know some of them roll like, plus 15% damage or something, right? And then they go like total armor and then damage reduction from enemies effective like shadow damage over time and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine, but just make sure that you have like I would say at least 3 of the 4 on your pants and chest piece should most likely be defensive damage reduction affixes. Okay, so make sure you're looking at that. And then this also plays into why uniques are so bad. If I was to take these pants off, I'd lose 70% damage reduction. I lose the aspect that's giving me 20%, basic skills grant 20%. Then I'm also losing all of those secondary stats. So I'm losing 70% damage reduction if I put on a unique item. Right. That's why, unfortunately, why uniques are bad the higher up you go, and why they're fine as long as you're playing, like base world tier 4 or lower, So keep that in mind going forward. Same thing with your necklace. Your necklace can roll, like for example, I can get % total armor, I could get damage reduction from poison, and damage reduction while fortified. Right. So your boots can roll damage reduction while injured, and then there's could be a class specific one. So like I know me, I want % total armor while in werewolf form is good on my boots. So yeah, so that's going to be the first tip, is just look at your secondaries and make sure you have 3 of the 4 at least as defensive damage reduction affixes. The next tip is going to be to make sure you're utilizing gems or utilizing the correct gems for your build. So if you're playing a rogue that doesn't have crazy access to unstoppable, topazes are really good. So then when you become crowd control impaired, you gain damage reduction. So you have 5 slots, so this is 10% per gems. That'd be 50% damage reduction whenever you get frozen, right? You combine this with like a looting aspect where whenever you become injured, you get unstoppable. Now all of a sudden, you get a bunch of damage reduction, and then it becomes really hard, I guess, to chain CC you for you to die if you're stacking these gems, right? Like obviously, yes, you still can, but this is going to help alleviate a lot of the issue. The next thing would be if you have access to Fortify, you can run the damage reduction while fortified. So this is going to be 15% across 5 slots. I'm not sure I recommend the damage taken over time reduction unless you're doing something specific like fishing for blind burrows runs or something, since they have a lot of poison. And then Royal Rubies can be good if you're running things like Temerity or something that scales off of max life, which I don't know if Temerity scales off your bonus life or your base life, but generally speaking, max life is a pretty good stat in this game. So, but yeah, make sure you're using defensive gems, and then in your jewelry, make sure you're using skulls. You can get up to 250 armor if you have that maxed out on the upgraded gems. So like right here, you can see I get 750 armor. That's the equivalent of almost another piece of gear. So you can see here I have like 1400 here, I get 1000 here, so like it's almost like having another piece of gear. I'm only getting 823 armor here, so it's like I have another pair of pants on by putting those on. So really think about that, because armor does in fact increase your non-physical damage taken. So by increasing your armor, you actually are increasing your resistances too, in a way, right? So the next thing too is going to be make sure you do not have any single resist, so poison resist. So just to give you an example here, skill tree, right? So I should have 43.4%, I think. Damage. So poison resist is 43.4. Now let's add in 15%. Let's see what I actually get. I got 2%. I got like 2%, right? So because of the way the math is done, increasing your non-physical resistances is just never good. So make sure that you never roll those. That's not going to help you at all. Doesn't matter if it's all resist, it doesn't matter if it's single resist, you just don't want it. So avoid that. Okay, so that's gonna be my first tip. It's just think about your secondaries. The next tip being, thinking about your gems. And then lastly, well, I guess I have more than 3 tips. So the next tip is going to be don't sleep on defensive passives. So I know I said don't take this, but that's because this one's bad. But this one right here, right? Gain 15% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using a skill. Don't just, when you're making your builds, don't just be like, oh, I need all the damage, all the damage, all the damage. No, no, no. You want to make sure that you're taking, you know, damage reduction ones if they're good and you have good options for them, right? Like this is really good because I can use Blood Howl to get a damage reduction, use Cyclone Armor to get damage reduction. It's pretty sweet, right? Then you look over here, it's like I could take, oh, I have a 15% chance to make things vulnerable. Oh, that's more damage. Or I could take 20% less damage. Pretty good, right? So that's another damage reducer. Pretty good, right? So then come down here, right? I have defensive posture, increases the amount of fortify I gain, and whenever I'm struck, I fortify. Pretty good. Like over here, you have shape-shifting fortifies you. Pretty solid. So just make sure you're thinking about your build, I guess would be the next tip there. And then or I guess not being overly offensive about it. So that would be the next tip there. And I guess the last tip is going to be do not sleep on this blacksmith. Let's just go ahead and take a look here. So let's look at the stats. We have what do I got here? We'll just use this pair of pants. Actually, we'll use this one because it has damage reduction while fortified and damage reduction while injured. So let's take a look at how much this gets increased if we rank this up. Nope, wrong one. Okay, so it's going to go up by 1.9% there. It's going to go up by 0.8% on the damage reduction while fortified. So let's go ahead and rank this up to 4. And also, it's going up 5 at a time on the armor. So 800, 805. 810, and it's constantly going up by 0.8%. So that means that you're getting, in the damage reduction while injured is going up by almost 2%, right? So you're getting like an extra, I don't know, 4 or 5% damage reduction whenever you increase this per stat that you're increasing, right? So you think about it when you have 4 stats on there, well, you're getting 20% extra damage reduction by upgrading your gear on top of getting the armor, and it might seem very negligible when you're like, oh, it's just 0.8%, but when you factor this across 5 upgrades, across 5 pieces of gear, on top of, and your amulet here, that's a little nutty, right? Like, don't sleep on upgrading this stuff. Like, just, you don't have to upgrade it and use Forgotten Souls. Just upgrade it up to +4 and call it good, right? You know, make sure you have good defensive stats on there, and you'll start to see that you will become pretty unkillable. Well, alrighty, I think that's going to do it. Those are my tips for increasing your defense in Diablo 4. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time.